Some of the best project managers I know and product managers, they always make their decision based on something called first principles. Now, I know many of you probably have never heard of this before. So, a first principle is a basic foundational proposition or assumption that cannot be deduced from any other proposition or assumption. So, an example of one we use for a developer platform team are that all platform features should be like Lego blocks, meaning developers should be able to use any combination of features when building an app. Features should be interoperable, just like Legos. First principle thinking helps PMs because as companies scale, communicating the rationale behind historical, current, and future decisions can be simplified in a way that the team and the stakeholders can rally around. This enables people around the PM to move quickly in the same direction, decouple, and make smart trade-offs without their presence. What about first principles for the craft of product management? If the first principles can help a PM align their team around what's most important on a product, I believe they can also serve PMs in thinking about the craft of product management itself. So that's what this whole episode is going to be about. What are the foundational propositions and assumptions of product management that cannot be deduced? The first principle of product management can be reduced to A or B, which is maximize the impact of the mission or accomplish everything through other roles. Maximize impact of the mission is developing a product strategy that maximizes the impact of the organization's mission given a set of inputs. Accomplish everything through others is PMs do not directly build or operate the product. Instead, they enable and empower those around them to do it better because they can do it better than you can. These two principles represent left and right sides of your brain. The left side is defined by logic, research, and rigor. The right side is creativity, intuition, and empathy. So great product managers fuse these two principles into all their decisions, and everything they do should derive from that. In retrospect, most of my previous episodes that I've talked about are derivatives of these two principles. It's a way that, if I would have put this out there first, it probably would have been better. But this at least gives you some idea of where my brain is going, what my brain is thinking. So let's talk about principle A, maximize impact to the mission. The focus of all employees in a company should be to fulfill the company's mission, their goal, where they're trying to go, the North Star strategy, whether the mission is to earn billions, create social good, or both. That would be nice. To this end, the vast majority of people in a company are directly working towards providing a product or service to the customers. They're building a product, taking it to market, or helping existing customers do something different or better. Product management does nothing to directly build or operate the product for customers. Instead, its core responsibility is to look ahead and inform the builders operators of the product what the right path is to achieve the goal that they're setting out to do. That path is often referred to as product strategy, and the best ones are those that maximize the impact to the mission. Defining the product strategy is massive responsibility. It's huge. So how does a PM do it? They look at three inputs. What is our goal? What is the environment around them signaling? And what people, money, and time constraints exist? PMs use those three inputs to form an opinion on the right path that will lead to fulfillment of the mission. So let's start with what about the goal? What's the goal? Everything starts with the goal. If you don't know where you're supposed to go, you shouldn't even move because you're not likely to end up there. You're going to likely end up further away. One of the biggest issues I see with PMs is they don't take time to really understand the goal. They may be able to recite a mission statement, but do they really understand its foundations? I'm talking about the customer assumptions that led to it, the moral, ethical, design boundaries the company intends to stay within to achieve it, and the vision of the world's future that it's supposed to live in. Great product managers incessantly ask hard questions to leadership to understand nuances, the first principles that went into defining the mission they follow. The deeper one can understand it, the more precise their path to the goal will be. That makes sense. It gives us some clear direction. PMs also need to know how other teams are contributing to the effort, especially in large companies. Aligning across all teams ensures that collisions are avoided, and far better, find opportunities for teams to combine efforts and accelerate progress. Only once a PM is sure they know their company's goal and the goals of other teams around them Are they ready to effectively set up their own team's goals, which must ladder up clearly to the broader mission? So what about this environment? What the environment is signaling? Most plans start out as a straight line to the goal. We're going from A to B. But the path never ends up as a straight line. It just doesn't. It's impossible to see all the obstacles ahead. And sometimes the goal is so far away that you can't always tell if you've drifted a little off course. To hedge against this, PMs have to listen to their environment to detect, anticipate, and course correct the path. I recently had a drive from Florida to Salt Lake City, Utah. And on that drive, there were 2 times where I detected that I was driving off of the beaten path. Now, I use GPS to get me there, but sometimes it signaled, hey, there's a more ideal route or there's a better route. Do you want us to change your route? And if you didn't reply, it would auto change the route. And that pulled me off course twice because I had a very specific path I wanted to take due to the weather. So it was one of those things where it was quite interesting, but you have to understand. You have to listen to the environment to detect, anticipate, and course correct the path as needed. These are the 2 main classes of environment signals you want to seek. Customer signals. Customer signals are the qualitative and quantitative data the data sets that accumulate on how customers are using your product. The data is the ping from the goal. And when you hear that ping get stronger, you know you aren't veering too far off course and you're moving towards the goal. Think about like a hot-cold game, right? Market signals are asteroid warnings that represent shifts in the world that will affect your path. They're the change in the competitive, political, and socioeconomic landscapes that affect your company and your customers. Constantly listening to the world outside your company walls is a critical input to great product management. And what you hear from customers is the ultimate validation that you're achieving your goal. You're moving in the right direction. What people, money, and time constraints exist is the third one. So how far a rocket ship can go is constrained by the amount of fuel that it holds, the quality of its crew, and its time-constrained ability to leverage gravitational boost using from other celestial bodies, like, let's just say, Jupiter. Similarly, product teams are constrained by the money, people, and time they have to launch a product. On any given mission, a product team will be constrained by all 3 of these. People on a product team often represent the biggest constraint. Too often, that constraint is only thought of as a number of people working on a product, which it can be, but vastly more important are actual skill sets and level of experience of the people on the teams. This is the critical piece. So a lot of people, when they go back to the number of people and the amount of time, they don't take into consideration how many of these people are more junior, more senior, what tools they have, what levels of experience they have, how they engage with the product in the past. Have they engaged with the product in the past? Is this something brand new? Just like you wouldn't put the rookie class of NASA on its first mission to Mars, there are product scopes that are beyond the ability of some teams. This isn't their fault and says nothing of their eventual abilities, but it's something that PMs critically need to understand when figuring out the path forward. To be clear, this applies to PMs themselves as well. They need to be self-aware to know when they're biting off more than they can chew. We'll talk about that another time. But money is also a constraint. Money is the constraint that relates to the ability of a team to hire the right people, think salaries, enable them to work, overhead like office space, computer equipment, operate the product, servers, support, and distribute it, marketing. It would be silly to spend all your money on salaries to hire the best team, but have no place for them to work and not a single dollar to pay for marketing, and thus few customers will ever know that your product exists. Most companies have abstracted away the overhead, operating, and marketing cost complexities from PMs so they can focus on product and distribution. But it's important that PMs understand that capital isn't limitless. In lieu of those luxuries, PMs need to consider all the money impacts when building their strategy. Let's talk last about time. So time is the ultimate constraint because unlike the other 2, once it's exhausted, you can't get it back, right? Not even Cher could turn back time. Time's rather annoying that way. But time represents reality. It's the reality that the products that haven't shipped have yet to produce any value. It's the reality that competitors are taking market share every day. It's the reality that your company will run out of money within the next month. PMs need to manage time. It's a must-do. They must ensure that they don't miss big windows of opportunity, make the right trade-offs, utilize time as a healthy way to foster execution on the team. So when PMs know the goal, understand the environment, and respect the constraints, they have the necessary inputs to build a great product strategy, which sits somewhere in the intersection of those inputs. My reductionist analogy may imply that this is easy, but let me be clear that forming a very good strategy is very, very, very difficult. In fact, despite being confident enough to write this message to you and to explain it all on a podcast episode, I am confident that I can always find the right strategy in practice. It's just so complex. The other dimension I hope to come through from this is that PMs need incredible breadth to effectively synthesize these inputs into strategy. Knowing enough about engineering, user experience, data, finance, organizational design, operations, research, marketing, etc., makes your ability to synthesize these inputs more effective, and thus your strategy will have a higher likelihood of being successful. I feel too many PMs get intimidated by this reality and react by specializing in a specific domain or outsourcing the thinking from a domain to another team or another group. Marketing will figure out how we're going to distribute it. I really think this type of thinking is counterproductive and will limit your potential as a PM. As scary as it sounds, it's important that you try to learn everything even a little bit. Temper the fear that comes with this acknowledgement, and at the same time, understand that it's impossible for you to know everything. All right, let's talk about principle B, which is accomplishing everything through others. In the rocket ship analogy, who did you think the PM was? Were they the person who planted the flag on the planet goal? Were they the one of the astronauts that was on the spaceship? Were they the commander or the chief director? The answer is they were neither. The PM was actually mission control back on Earth. Their job was to support the astronauts who are actually taking a risk, risking their lives for the mission. Okay, building a product usually isn't that serious, but you get the point. As a PM, you cannot, absolutely cannot forget that you accomplish everything through others. Sorry, you're not even on a spaceship. That makes me feel bad. So, wait, why do so many PM articles promote that PM should be a jack of all trades and do whatever it takes, including coding, marketing, and designing? The doing whatever it takes mentality doesn't make you a good product manager. It makes you a good employee. When a PM is coding, writing supporting documents, or designing a product, they're presumably doing so because it's blocking a critical path to shipping. They're acting out their values as an employee to the company, not as a PM. Everyone, not just PM, should aspire to have this mentality. If an engineer happens to also be good at marketing and that's what's blocking the team, they should jump in and help. But it doesn't make them a better engineer. The reason PMs often find themselves building a bunch of stuff is because, as the only member of the team who's not supposed to build, it's rational that they should be the first to volunteer when things fall behind. But that's very different than saying it's just part of their job. Oh, it's part of your job. Accomplishing everything through others is an irreducible first principle of product management. So to explore it deeper, you need to completely understand what's going on. So if you switch to a sporting analogy, the coaches don't play the game, but they're definitely informative and know exactly what's going on. Coaching styles are independent and relative skills of a coach are different. And the way they convey how the team should operate is different from coach to coach. Oftentimes it's based on a set of characters or players that they have in their arsenal to use. When a team wins, the players are celebrated, not the coach. The coach doesn't get celebrated when a team wins. The team gets celebrated when a team wins. Coaches need to know what every player can do to be effective and add value. It's very difficult to coach if you don't know who you're coaching and what their experience is, right? And then when a captain finally does emerge, the coach can step back and let them lead on the floor and then take it from there into places where there's not peak performance. I think the goal here is coaches are around to nurture the energy levels and mental state of the team and to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful. So when you think about this like nothing else matters, that's what's going to help you be the best that you could do, and that's what's going to help you achieve your Agile goals. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a question or comment, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.